Hey there folks, welcome back to Chits and Cardboard, and today we are looking at a fantastic set of Japanese games from designer Totsuka Chuo and published by Uchibacoya, and that is Aqua Garden and Sky Garden and Dino Garden. Catch you in a second. Welcome to the base game setup of Aqua Garden. I've included some advanced fish just so I can explain the mechanics, but Aqua Garden in and of itself is a very straightforward system that Uchibacoya has repurposed for these other games that I'll get into later. Now, you are playing as someone trying to build the most attractive aquarium. You're doing so by attracting fish into your aquarium, or I should say by capturing fish, attempting to meet centralized objectives, which are like first come, first serve, as well as objectives for which fish are in what tank. If you do so the most successfully, whoever ends up with the most points at the end of the game will win. I mentioned you are drafting fish in Aqua Garden, which is true, but the mechanism upon which you do so is very clever and interesting. Each turn, the players will move their pawns forward along this clockwise track. You must move forward and stop in a specific location. If you happen to stop somewhere that has a fish, you're going to move your aquarium worker up to 3 spaces and drop that fish somewhere next to that worker. There's an event space where every time you pass it, treat it like pass and go. You kind of make income based on certain combinations you have in those 2 aquariums. And then the next players will go and grab their fish. So just to explain the game a little more clearly, let me take the first 2 turns as this orange player. Because you're going first, you are going to take this whale shark here, because who doesn't love a whale shark? You're going to move your worker, I'm going to say twice. Now, usually we would trigger the event, but I do not meet the requirement to make any coins off this event, which is having a clownfish and a coral in either of these 2 tanks. I'll get 1 coin per combination. I'll drop this whale shark in this tank as to not prevent my ability from making that combination. Then I will let the other players take their turn. So we might have green go here and take this, and gray go here and take this, and then green gets to go again because green is furthest back. So green will move forward and take that striped fish. Now, I am seeing that the turtle combination out here is 2 turtles and a coral, so I'm gonna move all the way up here, take this turtle, move my worker twice, drop this turtle in this corner, and then spend 2 currency to grab this coral and place it in my tank. Aqua Garden is interesting because the player who's last in the ratchet in the clockwise order will be going next, not the player in player order. So if you want to overextend and go way far forward, the other players will have many opportunities to take fish before it's your turn again. There are also advertisement spaces you can land on that will give you income based on combinations of fish that exist in your aquarium. Also, each aquarium is limited by the number of fish it can have with oxygen. Each fish consumes a different amount of oxygen specified at the bottom of a player board, and when the tank is full of oxygen and has no oxygen left to give to any fish, you can no longer place fish there unless you kick out other fish. You can increase the oxygen by 2 by placing a seaweed in the aquarium, but coral will actually reduce the oxygen. It's just needed for certain combinations for income. Buying coral or seaweed is a free action on your turn. You can spend up to 2 currency to buy 1 of anything in there, including the fish that have happened to be released by other players or the 2 that were set up at the start of the round. Now, you're also looking to create combinations for these first come, first serve objectives, and as you can see, this ends up being a lot to look at, even though the core mechanisms are so simple. There are advanced fish that have endgame scoring criteria that help you in very variable ways. There's many of these in the game of Aqua Garden. I think I have like 60 of them. I'll show B-roll with everything I've got, but they're very unique and interesting, and you can only buy them if you land on an advertising space, which is this like dark blue space in the track. You can see them here, 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 here. So let's say this gray player was to stop there, they'd be able to purchase one of these special fish for $3, $4, or $2, or they could take income based on one of these advertisements, which is $1 per combination of fish that you meet the requirement for in your tank. So for example, $1 for every 2 clownfish means if you had 4 clownfish in your tank, you'd get $2. So I've taken the liberty of playing out the rest of the round for this orange player so you can see how it would kind of play out. What actually happened? Well, they moved around their tank a couple of times. They drafted another clownfish and put a coral there such that they can meet their income objective. They've placed another clownfish there to prepare to get more income again, and then they've just continued drafting in that way. I know that went by pretty quick, but that's basically it for Aqua Garden. You're just doing this, going around this entire board 4 times, attempting to create the best combinations you possibly can in tanks. Each round, you're gonna refill this central board area that you can buy fish from with 2 new fish. You're going to refill this entire board and you're going to run it again. All the other games build upon this system of move, whoever's further back goes next, draft your thing, move on your board, place your thing, and then try to make combinations. So with that, let's get into Sky Garden. So here I have Sky Garden completely set up in base game form, just like Aqua Garden, and you'll notice some similarities right away. First off, the ratcheting clockwise track. Second off, the advertisements. Third, the player board looks very similar with a little bit of difference I'll get into later. Fourth, this little wilderness area has now changed. It's not seaweed and coral, it's trees and nests. We also have eggs, and this game focuses a lot more on the reproductive cycle slash breeding of birds. How do we actually do that? Well, firstly, you might notice the wooden meeples on the ratcheting board have been replaced with chips. That's just to make it so you can't feel what you're pulling out when you pull it out of the bag. The base Aqua Garden has the option to come with cards to do the same thing, but basically the only difference is when you move and grab a chip, you just grab the matching meeple from the bowl. I don't know if I love that, I'm not like sold on it, but in this game, it allows them the variance of moving the advertisement spots. So they're not always consistently in the same place, they're spread out across the board. Also, there's a new type of bonus on places you land, which allows you to take a bonus action called nesting, which is basically how you end up getting eggs in the first place. So let's get into these differences. So the central first come, first serve objectives have most importantly been replaced by this little tic-tac-toe board of things you should do. For example, this one states you want 2 swans anywhere in your apiary. Now, as you happen to do these, you'll be putting these cubes from the left side of your board over onto these spots, and as you finish rows and columns, you'll get bonuses. First person to get that bonus gets a much bigger bonus. Now, the cubes you take off your board are on a track. The further down the track you get, the more points you're gonna get. So that's one of the ways to earn points in this game. The second way is if you happen to be in a position where you have 2 birds of the same type in the same area, and you have a nest in that area, that bird will lay an egg. So you would take an egg token and place it on that bird in your little nesting area. If you ever lay that type of egg again, instead of gaining another egg there, you will move up this egg track. The goal is to have as many different types of birds' eggs as possible in here, while also moving as far up the egg track as possible, because at the end of the game, the position on the egg track will multiply into how many different types of eggs you have. So if you have 5 eggs and you're at the position 4 on the bird track, you'll be getting 20 more points, which is almost as many as you'd earn by hitting the bottom of the achievement board. So it's pretty significant. The last change I want to touch on is how they handle capacity, because it has changed quite a bit. So weight-wise, this is something to think about. Effectively, when you pick up a bird and place it, the motions are the same, but each bird now has a different ecosystem it wants. Some birds want trees that you can place in areas, and some want lakes, which you build by taking this tile out of your board, revealing a dual-layered lake, which I love that UI. It's really nice. The way you do that is very similar to how you used to build seaweed or coral. Effectively, you're spending 2 coins on your turn as a free action and building it somewhere adjacent to where your worker was. Now, you can also take the free birds that are available in the wild for those 2 coins. You also have a free option to pay 4 coins to buy this extra, I'll call it apiary, tank, whatever. This sits underneath your board and is considered adjacent to your worker at all times. So it's pretty powerful and it's worth points at the end of the game. But other than that, the game is identical. So I've covered all the differences there. Now, Sky Garden does a really great job at increasing the weight of Aqua Garden without feeling too like clunky or too thinky or grindy. Now, they've also changed the event income, which I'm a fan of, where now you can always get a coin of event income as you pass go, aka the bucket on your board. But if you meet the criteria for the combos, you're slowly gaining more and more up to a maximum, so it is capped. That used to be a way players in Aqua Garden could run away, so that thought is very, very intentional, and I really like it. I don't really know how I feel about these chips. It's not my favorite change versus just pulling the animal from the bag, but you know, the meeples are still gorgeous and it doesn't make that big of a difference, so your mileage may vary there on what you think, but that is Sky Garden. And now before I get into my final opinions, let's get into Dino Garden and show you the differences there. So last but certainly not least, this is the full setup of Dino Garden with advanced dinosaurs. I'll describe the similarities first, but this game adds a bunch. So firstly, we're still seeing chips around the board clockwise. That has replaced the meeples in Aqua Garden. We also now have volcanoes in lakes instead of trees in lakes, but functionally they're very similar. We also have the 2 dinosaurs that each round you can purchase from this area. We also have the event that you will gain currency when passing go. We also have objectives, but they're now central, and you must complete the top and bottom half to claim the objective in the middle. They're worth a whole bunch of points though, and that's kind of where the similarities end. Let's talk about the differences. So this game focuses very heavily on the existence of a food chain. So the first thing I want to familiarize you with is the color of the dinosaurs matters. So the blue/green ones are dinosaurs that generate meat, and the brown/red ones are the dinosaurs that eat meat. There's also others down there. Each round, any green dinosaurs you have in your areas will generate meat matching their dinosaur type. So for example, that dinosaur creates steaks that kind of look like tomahawks that get dropped in their tanks. Now the red dinosaurs will eat that meat and move you up the meat track. Each time a piece of meat is eaten, you move up the meat track. Sometimes you can move to, if it's a pterodactyl and a very specific type of meat, but the goal is you're unlocking either endgame scoring bonuses or passives for the rest of the game, and this meat track board is asymmetric per player. Now, how do you do that? They've introduced a new worker to the game. This is the worker that delivers meat to the various dragon pens, I guess you could call them. Whenever you land on a certain special spot on the board, you'll be able to move your meat worker. Now, by default, your worker can hold 3 meat, or you can pay 3 to upgrade this and let them hold 5, but they can pick up and drop off as many times as they like, and they can move up to 3 times. So if I was to pick up this meat here, I can move, drop this meat off there, pick up another meat, move, drop that meat off at this dinosaur, and then at the end of the round, the dinosaur would eat that meat and score me points. The other differences are, again, there's the combination of volcanoes and lakes, which certain dinosaurs score on volcanoes, certain score on lakes, and there's one that doesn't care, it just takes up a whole lot of space, and space is still a dilemma. So both volcanoes and lakes will add 2 to the maximum amount of space, very similar to Sky Garden with the lakes and the trees. And the central objectives have now been converted into pairs of objectives that must be completed. Additionally, whenever you complete one of these pairs of special objectives, you will be able to play one of these super boosted objective cards. These give you a really strong bonus one time. Now, this is the heaviest of the garden games, if you will. It definitely has the thinkiest moments because you're trying to plan ultimately where the meat will be and where it needs to go constantly. You could end up putting dinosaurs that generate and eat meat in the same place so that you have a loop there, but the dinosaurs score bonus points if they're on the correct terrain type, and the ones that generate meat and the ones that eat meat always want to be on opposite terrains. So that's something to balance, and I think this is the thinkiest of the bunch. Once again, plays over 4 rounds, you reset the dinos every round. They've changed the advertisement space such that instead of doing a combo for the advertisement, you are just getting 3 coins, which is interesting. It removes the thought there a bit. It's like, do you want 3 coins or do you want a special dinosaur? I haven't been talking about the special dinosaurs, birds, fish that much because the ones that come with the base games are very straightforward, and the ones that are added on in expansions or stretch goals are very, very, very in-depth and cool and interesting. These ones just reduce the cost for volcanoes, reduce the cost for lakes, and I think they make it so that you can gain a victory point for each either carnivorous or herbivorous dinosaur you have. They're not that complicated, and if you want to get them, they don't actually take up space in this game. They just get placed in the tank, or I guess in the zone with the other dinosaurs, and you can buy them whenever you land on one of those special spaces. So another puzzle to keep in mind on top of the opposite rotating meeple is that not every dinosaur eats every type of meat. There's a great matrix on the top of your board that will tell you which dinosaurs eat what and what you can expect, as well as which dinosaurs produce what. Now, whenever you gain a green or blue dinosaur, they will immediately place one of their type of meat in their spot, so you can kind of combo out like that and prepare ahead for, okay, I'm going to take this red dinosaur now and knowing I'm going to draft this blue or green one later. Really cool. Anyway, with that is Dino Garden, and let's bounce back and just talk about all 3 and my thoughts, because this is a lot to take in, and even though it's different flavors of the same game, they're different enough that I think it warrants a bit of a discussion. 1 second. I am now going to get into my thoughts on each game independently, starting with Aqua Garden. I also now want to call out that Uchibacoya did send these for preview/review. I don't know if I'm going to get to keep them, but either way, where possible, it will not affect my opinions of the games. Now, Aqua Garden was in my top 10 Japanese board games. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. It's great. It's a very cool, light, easy to pick up, but still super thinky, kind of like optimization puzzle kind of situation. You're drafting and then making the best of what you can with what you draft, and you're also trying to plan the timing such that the fish can end up in the right place. I didn't cover the beachcombing expansion here because it wasn't sent to me in this new edition, but beachcombing also adds a lot to Aqua Garden in the form of like an extra set collection thing every time you take a fish, which I really like. So if you're looking for like a jump off point, something to try dipping your toes in the system, I think Aqua Garden is a great start. Now, moving on to Sky Garden. This one is unfortunately my least favorite of the trio. I think they're all good, so take that with a grain of salt, but this one is a little finagly, I feel, in the balancing of how you're gonna breed eggs/birds and get tons of eggs. I don't necessarily love the power balance between getting a whole bunch of eggs and completing a whole bunch of objectives, because it feels like eggs will always be stronger, but they're so opposite usually your personal objective as well as the central objectives. And now, mind you, this is a nitpick. It really is the most approachable theme, I think, of all of them. I think birds are historically cooler than fish. I mean, they've kind of pulled a Stonemaier Games here and just gone for like birds, fish, and they did dinosaurs instead of dragons, but you get the idea, very similar. I do think that the birds are the most approachable theme in all of them, and I think they're the most widespread interest. So if you're trying to like have a game that appeals to the masses the most, this might be it. It's also the happy medium as far as weight is concerned, but in my brain, I either want to play the heaviest version or the lightest version and the breeziest version, because that's kind of, my brain's very binary in that way. It's either I want something that crunches me or something that's super simple. So take that as it is, but Sky Garden, still fantastic, still beautiful, definitely worth a pickup. And for what it's worth, I did pick up the game and both expansions in the latest Kickstarter, so obviously I can't be a hypocrite. It is a fantastic choice regardless. Last but not least is Dino Garden, and whoof, Dino Garden is my favorite of the three, and that's even before I add like new special dinosaurs to make it more interesting. I think the decision space is just so much bigger, and I thought the meat system was going to be really fiddly, but it's not. This is an absolute marvel. I obviously like the dinosaur theme too, so that helps me a lot, but I think the different types of meat, the production of all the meeples, combined with the mechanisms of moving around the track and the huge like feel-good bonus you get for actually completing an objective, as opposed to the other games, which is just like, here's some extra fish and some points. This feels like you can time the completion of an objective to get like a resurgence of cash, or to get another thing you need to chain things. It feels really good. We had a moment in a game where a player like comboed 3 objectives together by using the rewards from one to trigger the rest of them, and you can't really do that in the other games, so I think that's unique about this one. I do really wish they found a way to like get a meeple version of this so that you could actually have the meeples in the bag and draw them from the bag, but I do understand that in the later games they're balancing round over round by limiting the amount of chips to exactly how many spaces there are, and if you were taking the meeples off, you wouldn't be able to do that. That's my thoughts on the garden games. I think they're an absolute must back, but I don't necessarily think you need all of them. I think you should pick and choose based on the vibe you're going for. I am very happy I was able to try all 3. I'm still gonna have all 3, but I don't think you need all 3. So that's a decision you need to make. But like, look at this production. Like, this is stunning. The meeples, the meat, the different dual layer boards now, that's an upgrade from the original. Just so stunning, and just the way they look all together is beautiful. But that's it for the Garden Trilogy. Thanks for tuning in. If you want these, they're still available on Kickstarter for around a week, so please check that out. And I appreciate Uchibacoya for supporting us and letting us make this. Again, as you could probably tell, it doesn't really affect my opinion too much, because I already loved the games going into it, so they kind of knew that when they sent them. But thank you anyway. I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll catch you next time. See ya.